raining me like Pop feel when I'm geeking on shrooms. Call you bitch, told her link, she coming through. I'm healing up, my inside still bruised. Just hold 10, I'm just starting to get a groove. Lost per 10 for my man, I took 2. These niggas real hoes and they talk more than the news. I'm a big dog and these little niggas photos.
Alright man, back again with another video. So I know I posted a video about Gunna's production like a couple of videos ago, but I mean this one is way too good to not just break it down and show you guys some tips. So the other video was about layering, so I wanted to present to you the flip side of it, where you can just make an amazing sample with just 3 sounds. So you can approach sample making in both ways, but now I'm just gonna give you a lot of game and knowledge about how you can just use 3 sounds and make a crazy sample which sounds very full. Now this is how the sample sounds on its own. So when it comes to making samples with the least amount of layers, the most important thing is sound selection. Now you can get away with some bad choices if you're layering a shit ton of stuff, but if you want to use as little as possible, you gotta pick your sounds very carefully. I open up Addictive Keys and I picked this Dreamwind preset. As you can hear, it has a lot of space, it's already processed, it has reverb, it's filling up the frequency range. So yeah, I went ahead and laid down this pattern. Now I'm using the very basic go-to emotional chord progression, which is a 1-7-6. You can hear it in a lot of Pain beats, you can hear it in a lot of Rod Wave stuff, and most recently Gunna stuff. So if you want to make emotional stuff, make sure you're using emotional chord progressions. Usually these contain chords which use the 1st, the 6th, the 3rd, and the 7th note of the scale. I'm gonna put up a list of a couple of emotional chord progressions right there. I'm also gonna put the MIDIs to these chord progressions down below. You can just download them for free and drag and drop them and experiment. So to break down this pattern, all I'm using is just simple triads. I'm just gonna do this and I'm gonna do this. We have the 1 chord, we have the 7 chord, and then we have the 6th, and then I just added this B. So I talked about this in my previous video, but if you want to make melodies which are coherent, you don't just go in and click random shit all over the place. The best thing you can do is just break down the notes from the chord and use only these chords. So for example, if you have a triad chord, just use 3 notes. Even though scales have 7 notes, it doesn't mean that you have to use all of them to create a good melody. After that, I opened the Scarby Rickenbacker bass contact bank and I laid down this pattern. So once again, I'm just following the root notes of the chord progression, and I add little embellishments wherever I have movements in the chord progression. So when you play it together, this is how it sounds so far. Now for the third element of the sample, since we have a lot of ambience and atmosphere going on, I wanted to add these ambient vocals, which are very typical for pretty much any Gunna beat. So I opened up probably my most favorite plugin from this year, which is Boom Vocals, and I laid down this pattern. So you have very angelic sounding vocals which complement the piano, which has a lot of reverb. Now as far as effects go on the vocals, to make them even more ambient, I just took out some of the high end and some of the low end, and then again I wanted to create this atmosphere and movement in the sample, so I just went ahead and added this pancake, and that's pretty much it. So when you play everything together so far, this is how it sounds. Now another thing that I want to talk about while the sample is playing, as you can see, we have only 3 sounds, but the entire frequency spectrum is filled out, so the sample doesn't sound empty, even though it's just 3 sounds. And to top it off, while I was cooking up this sample, in my head I was hearing a percussion whoop, so I just went ahead and added this percussion whoop. It was too fast, so I just took half time and made it half speed. And after that, I added this EQ, which takes out most of the high end, most of the low end, and puts it down in the mix. And for the other sections, just to give it even more space, I went ahead and made this pattern unique, and then I just left only the chords. No top lines, no melodies, nothing. Just the chords and the bass. Now moving on to the drums, that's how they sound on their own. Now one thing that I want to point out is, since the sample already had a lot of movement going on, I wanted the hi-hats to carry a very simple and repetitive rhythm, so I just went with basically a 2-step hi-hat pattern, and I added a little bit of rolls. So when you play everything together,
Up my inside still bruised. Just hold 10, I'm just starting to get a grip.
So that's it, guys. I hope you learned something from the video. I'm gonna leave the sample in the description. I'm also gonna leave the MIDI progressions as I promised. And just leave a comment, say what's on your mind. You know, if you want to see me do something else. If you got video ideas, let me know. And until next time.